Senate Bill 473 brings Texas into conformity with federal law, the laws of 40 other states by listing weapons one can possess via federal tax stamp in the penal code and adding an exception for the weapons that have been properly processed through the ATF in accordance with the National Firearms Act. Wrongful exclusion of concealed handgun license holder. It prohibits a state agency or political subdivision from wrongfully posting notice excluding concealed handgun license holder from carrying a handgun and to make an agency or subdivision civilly liable for doing so. A Texas citizen or a person licensed to carry a concealed handgun is authorized to file a complaint with the Attorney General if the citizen or person provides the applicable agency or subdivision with written notice describing the violation, and the violation is not cured within a specific time frame. So if you feel like you've been wrongfully excluded from that business or that building because you have a handgun license, you can file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. There's a right way of going about doing things and a wrong way. The right way is to go through the Attorney General's office and they'll investigate it further. And if the Attorney General or appropriate county or district attorney finds that it is illegal, they may sue the agency or subdivision determines that the legal action is warranted and the violation has not been properly cured. So if the problem wasn't fixed, the person who put that sign out, they could be fined after investigation. All right? This is a new statute, Chapter 506, concealed handgun license is a valid form of personal identification. House Bill 2739 allows the use of a handgun license as valid proof of identification. Remember the handgun license that I showed earlier has your address, your driver's license number, all your identifying information on it. If you don't have your driver's license or identification card on you, you can present that to somebody, and that's just as good as that driver's license or identification card. And it prohibits denying a handgun license holder access to goods, services, or facilities because the license holder presented a handgun license rather than a driver's license or other acceptable form of personal identification. So if you try to go in to a business that requires you to look at your driver's license and you show them the handgun license instead, they can't exclude you. They can't refuse you service just because you chose to present your handgun license. Remember, all the same information: date of birth, address, height, weight, driver's license number. That's all on your handgun license now. But remember, a driver's license is still required to rent or operate a vehicle. A handgun license will not work. Don't try to pull one over on us, all right?
Check into a hotel, then all you need is a handgun.
Okay, you can use your handgun license to check into a hotel. The bill does not affect the types of identification that are required to access airport premises or pass through airport security, nor does it affect Texas Government Code 411-205. But you will, when you go through the airport, you're going to need to have your driver's license out. Texas Government Code 411-205 states if a license holder is carrying a handgun on or about the license holder person when a magistrate, which is a judge, or a peace officer demands that the license holder displays identification, the license holder shall display both the license holder's driver's license or identification certificate issued by the department and the license holder's handgun license. How many in here have your CHL right now? When you get pulled over, what do you have to present? All right, same things applies right here. Even if you're not carrying, you still need to display that to us. Person who fails or refuses to display the license and identification as required by this subsection is subject to suspension of the person's license as provided by section 411-187. Just to recap, handgun license is valid proof of ID. You must have a driver's license to operate a motor vehicle. No other form of identification can be used to operate a motor vehicle. And during the course of an officer's investigation, the officer asks for a handgun license from open concealed carry. The carrier must present either the driver's license and the handgun license, or the identification and the handgun license. All right, little Q&A right here. How many of y'all believe that if I get legally called out to where you're at if you are open carrying that I can disarm you? If you vote yes, raise your hand.
Say that again.
If you vote no, raise your hand. Okay. Amendment prohibition on unreasonable searches and seizures is not violated when a police officer stops a suspect on the street and frisks him or her without probable cause of arrest. So this is the stop and frisk. If the police officer has reasonable suspicion that the person is committing or is about to commit a crime, and has reasonable belief that the person may be armed and presently dangerous. I've talked with the DA's office about this here in Smith County. They say that since you are open carry, if you choose to open carry, you're viewed as being openly armed and presently dangerous, because that's how other people are going to be. Okay? Because y'all know I can be dangerous with a gun on my hip and my uniform, correct? Same thing applies to y'all if you decide to open carry. Now, when I left out, the DA's office talked with some defense attorneys, and they told him about Section 411-207, authority of a peace officer to disarm. A peace officer is acting in the lawful discharge of the officer's official duties may disarm a license holder at any time the officer reasonably believes it is necessary for the protection of the license holder, officer, or another individual. So the answer to the question is yes. If I'm legally called out there, I can legally disarm you. Peace officers shall return the handgun to the license holder before discharging the license holder from the scene if the officer determines that the license holder is not a threat to the officer, license holder, or another individual. And if the license holder has not violated any provision of this subchapter, or committed any other violation that results in the arrest of the license holder. So once you're disarmed, you hadn't violated any law, your license is still valid, you hadn't done anything to have it suspended or anything, I give you your license back, I give you your handgun back, have a good day. Now, why would somebody disarm? Hang on just a second. The reason we disarm people, even if they have knives, it's a safety issue that we go through. All right? Yes, sir.
Okay, if I'm carrying, open or concealed in one hand, you want to disarm me. What would you think is the proper way for me to hand you my weapon? Because it's gonna have a round chamber.
Okay. His question is, when you've been contacted by law enforcement, they wouldn't disarm you. What's the proper way of going about being disarmed? If the officer, it's up to the officer's discretion on how he wants to do it. Me personally, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to take your magazine out. I'm going to take the round out of the chamber. I'm going to lock the slide back to the rear, and I'm going to put it someplace where you can't have access to it as I'm talking. I'm going to separate you from the gun, basically, is what I'm telling you. That's how I'm going to do it. Different officers may do different things. They may just ask you to go put it in your car and leave it at that. But it's up to the officer's discretion to do it. Now, if you have a problem with the way that officer did that, maybe he had an attitude or something, you need to contact his supervisor. Because what we don't want to happen is two people with a guns in a pissing contest, somebody's going to end up getting shot. Okay? We don't want that to happen. Common sense is going to apply on how we handle this. This new open carry, there are people out there who don't know that open carry is about to go into effect. When we taught the last class, some lady's like, why are y'all all here? Open carry. What is that? All right? So it's going to be a learning curve. We don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. We're going to have to get through this together. It's going to take common sense and patience to get it, okay? All right. Now, when I talk about a casual contact, I'm talking about I see you at a store, you hadn't done anything. That's what I'm talking about, a casual contact. I haven't been called out to you for open carry. That's still a gray area. They're waiting on the attorney generals to say, waiting on, if he doesn't say, we're going to find out from the Court of Criminal Appeals what their opinion is. And as these decisions come down from the Court of Criminal Appeals and the Attorney General's office, they get passed down to law enforcement to the street level officer who's going to get this information, and we'll carry it further from there. When it comes to disarm, I may need to disarm you. How many of you here remember the instructor who gave them their handgun license or taught the class? Okay, keep them raised. How many remember the location where they took the class at. If I asked a handgun license holder that question, don't you think that's some information that they would remember? So if you can't answer that, that's when my suspicion starts to arise, and then I can start developing a little bit more suspicion, leading into probable cause to go on further from there to determine if you're supposed to have a license or not. Liability issues. We're going to talk about the type of holster you use. You can carry shoulder or belt. If you decide to open carry, you need to figure out which way you want to do it. Then holster retention, friction lock or hood. When I talk about friction lock, I'm talking about the ones who don't have a hood on it. Like I have a hood on mine, I don't have it. You usually see them, you just grab them right out. These are things you need to think about if you decide to open carry. Because I'm going to go in a little bit further. Who likes to eat by the police whenever they see the police in the business eating? Okay? I'm about to tell you why. Somebody wants to rob or do harm, who's the first person they're going to go after? This good looking guy right here. Alright? Because I have a gun. I already know my car's out there. We're already grouped together. Was it Oregon? California where the 4 got shot? They're at a Starbucks or something? Washington. Okay. Prime example. People start shooting at me, where all the bullets go? Everybody around me, correct? Now if you decide to open carry, you have now become the good looking guy they just shot. Alright? Sergeant Coslin's going to go over this a little bit more in his class. I'm not going to step on his toes. But you now become the first target. Bad guys know you're armed. Bad guy can grab your gun, commit a crime, depending on your level of gun retention and holster retention. When I say your level of gun retention, how can you prevent somebody from getting your firearm? Unfortunately, because there's people out there who don't know. Oh my gosh, he's got a gun. Okay, great. All right. What's he doing with the gun? These are questions that people are going to be asked. But, like I said, the first few months, this is going to happen. If contact by that look like. Am I right? Okay. Section 411-28, it's a limitation of liability. Court may not hold the state, agency, or subdivision of the state, an officer or employee of the state, peace officer, or qualified handgun instructor liable for damages caused by a cause of action, and damages may not be brought against the state, an agency or subdivision of the state, an officer or employee of the state, a peace officer or qualified handgun instructor for any damage caused by the actions of an applicant or a license holder under this subchapter. The department is not responsible for any injury or damage inflicted on any person by an applicant or license holder arising or alleged to have arisen from an action taken by the department under this subchapter. Basically, if you shoot somebody that you shouldn't have shot, the guy standing behind the suspect, you can be civilly liable. Person who taught the class can't sue the state that gave you the license. You're the sole responsible person for that.
But it's not only your problem.
You expect me to shoot straight. Open carry, or if you choose to open carry, concealed carry, you'll be given a great responsibility. Spider-Man, great power comes with great responsibility, correct? I think that's it, I can't remember. Okay. Remember, if you do open or concealed carry, you have a responsibility to know the law, make sure you're in accordance with it, and know how to handle your weapon in your holster. Owner of Dogwood Hills was at the last class we taught. He stated after January 1st, when they can teach the future handgun classes, there will be a section on weapons retention. Okay? If you feel like you can't prevent somebody from taking your firearm out of your holster, you need to think about surrendering your license. All right, anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You said after January 1st, people are going to be calling you, hey, there's somebody here with a gun. Do I, as a citizen, have a right to ask another person to see their license?
Question,
Now, do
after
I-
January 1st, do you as a citizen have a right to ask another person if they have a license? You can, but if they tell you no,
You can ask.
you can ask. They don't have to tell you an answer. They didn't put that in there. Okay? Yes, sir. What about a post office parking lot? I believe that is a, you can?
There was a lawsuit filed several years ago, regarding this. It basically what the Texas Supreme Court ruled on this, can y'all hear me over there? Yeah.
No.
Good. I told you, guy, I've got a big loud mouth. Texas Supreme Court ruled on this, there was a lawsuit against Target. A citizen here in Texas has a concealed handgun license carrier. They were employed of Target. Target had rules saying no employee can bring a handgun on the premises, and include their parking lot. Well, but they had a right to carry their gun to and from their residence or their place of work, correct? Well, Target was going to fire them because they couldn't bring their gun on to the parking lot. They were restricting that. They filed a law from their house to their work establishment. You have to provide a place to secure their vehicle and secure their firearm. So that was already ruled on the Texas Supreme Court. So yes, if you're licensed to carry and you gotta go to the post office, you can carry it to the post office, but leave it in your car. Don't go inside the post office with it. Don't go inside the bank with it or wherever else you're restricted to carry it. But the court has ruled you can go from your residence in your vehicle to wherever you're going and then secure your vehicle. Does that answer the question? Good.
Another question. Yes, sir.
Have the laws that were in effect that would allow me without a license or a permit, if I'm traveling out of county and am carrying a large sum of money, may I have a weapon that is unloaded, separated from the ammunition in my car as I travel?
Question, if you have a large sum of money, you're traveling out of county, or if you're traveling,
Like the old law.
right, in reference to the old law, can you have a handgun? Yes.
It's offensive prosecution and penal code that if you're a traveler, you're
Get a
traveling.
mic!
I'm sorry?
We
Get
need a mic.
microphone.
You can't hear me?
No, we really
Holy
need
moly.
it.
I could understand you a whole lot better if you'd use a mic.
Thank you.
I hate using mics. This is gonna kill me.
Oh.
Yes, it is an offensive prosecution, state of Texas, that you're a traveler, you're traveling a large sum of money, like if you're a night manager and you're going to the bank, making a deposit, you can have
Going
a
to
loaded,
boats.
you can have a loaded firearm in your possession. It doesn't have to be unloaded, okay? You can carry it with you in your vehicle as.
Just wanted to add something to the, they were saying that they're gonna have a retention class, part of the class, when you see license to carry, it's actually just specific to the whole. That's DPS just released that today too. So it's not gonna be like, fighting or anything, it's just gonna be, the whole.
He's saying DPS just came out that they're gonna be talking about when they talk about specific holster, not. All right. Yes, sir.
I still have a gray area about the churches.
Huh?
You said, who had the,
Gentleman over there, he's got a paperwork I'm gonna read and I'll get back with you. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I got a quick question on the 51 sign, because I've gone into restaurants,
Mhm.
and the 51 sign's stuck on the mirror behind the bar.
Okay.
Does that preclude me from carrying in the whole place if I'm sitting over somewhere eating?
If a business derives 51% of sales from alcohol, can't carry it in there.
Okay, but does it have to be displayed at the door?
It should be.
Big red sign, big red.
If that's the case, you just might wanna simply talk to the manager and be like, hey, here's the issue, blah, blah, blah. So,
Duly notified.
yes, ma'am.
Are you gonna have to take a course just like for concealed handgun license or?
Open carry. Question was, do you have to take another course to open carry if you already have a concealed handgun? No.
No, if you, to get just an open carry license,
No.
you have to take a course.
No, ma'am, you don't. Once January 1st goes into effect, you can, if you already have a handgun license, I call it a handgun license, right now it's concealed, but January 1st it becomes handgun license, you can open carry, you can conceal carry, it's up to your, it's your choosing.
What if you don't have a license at all?
If you don't have either, you have to get a license. Does that answer your question?
said, well, duh.
Yes.
And they laughed at my question.
It's called a handgun. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Yes, sir. The question was, whenever you get your new handgun license, will have your driver's license number on there? The answer is yes. Any other questions?
If you're reporting an accident, you have to present your license, and they ask you for your license.
Yes, that goes back to whenever you have to present your ID when they ask for it, you have to present both forms of ID. It was asking if you get to a wreck, you have to present your handgun license. The answer is yes. Smith County Sheriff website. DPS should have them up there. If not, you can Google Texas Penal Code or Texas Section 411.208 and it'll pop up. Yes, sir.
Some people may be here that don't have the license. What is the current cost of getting your handgun license?
What is the current cost of getting your handgun license? I don't know. I got mine in 2001, and when I came in law enforcement, I let mine go back in 07. I don't know. Does anybody know what the cost is?
It was about 240.
I'm hearing 240, 250.
$40 to the state, the course is anywhere from $150 to $60, depending on where you take it.
You have to take the course and then you gotta pay your license.
Yeah.
You gotta be fingerprinted, you gotta have
All
a
right.
background check.
Ladies and gentlemen, other states have open carry. They've had open carry for years. The first year they had a few little problems, but it wasn't as bad as everybody thinks it's gonna be. Patience and common sense, that's all we're asking for when we're dealing with this. And I understand you're gonna ask the same thing from us. If you have any of, if a state recognizes Texas, handgun license, we recognize theirs, okay? All right, take about 10 minutes. If you have any questions, myself or Sergeant Cosmo will be out in the four-way to answer them. And he'll be starting with the Civilian Response Active Shooter next.